Welcome back to another episode of Imagine Better. Episode 19. I'm your host, Mark Powers. Rasheda Williams is in the house today. What do you think of the studio?
Oh, I absolutely love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And
very cool.
She even brought her own cool sign here, guys. Look at that, huh? You should sell these.
You know what? I'll have to do that. I have had a company that made it for me. As you can see, it's a little worn. I take it everywhere with me.
That means it's getting empowered.
It's getting some use, and that's a good thing because people are really embracing their personal power, and that's what I'm all about.
You are. I mean, you are a force out there. It is awesome, and I love what you're doing with the youth space, and I know that stems from your own personal journey, from what I've read. I don't do a ton of research on my guests, and I do that intentionally because I want this to be, hey, I just met you, we're having coffee, try to make it authentic. So, but I have to do a little bit. So I know you've been bullied and called weird, and I think that was, I don't know when that was in school, but maybe walk us through before we really get into where you're at today. What's the why behind Rasheda's story, and why? I mean, who are you? What's going on?
Well, you know what? I will just say that I love your energy.
Thank you.
And your enthusiasm. Every guest that I've seen, they seem like they really engage with you, and it's a fun conversation. So thank you
My pleasure.
for inviting me. And I would say that my story, I call it excluded to empowered.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure that many young people who are in middle school could definitely relate. Even adults who survived middle school, because I feel like it's surviving middle school.
Oh,
right?
gosh.
If you could get through middle school and you still have your sanity and you are still a functioning individual, then you've made it.
I'm laughing right now hearing you about this middle school thing. Because I don't know, I know where you're going to kind of go with this story, I think. I just want to share one thing about me in middle school that happened, which is why I was laughing, because it brought up a memory. I'm not going to mention this kid's name, but I didn't look at it as bullying back then, but now I do. I'm like, man, you're a punk. You know, he handcuffed me to the lunchroom doors. He was one of those kids that back in our day, we could carry switchblade knives. You know, it was natural. It was normal. Handcuffs, you know. And he handcuffs me, and he left me there the whole lunch break. And so everyone's laughing and stuff like that.
Laughing. No one went to go get help, did they?
No one got help. They didn't want to get involved. Anyways, when you were talking about this, that instantly popped in my head.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It just did.
Yeah, because we can all relate. We all have some sort of kind of adverse childhood experience, especially in middle school, right? But middle school for me, it was tough. You know, at first, you know, it seemed to be cool. But then I got switched to a different homeroom. So different students.
Okay.
A lot of young people, when they're in middle school, you know, in 6th grade, you know, they're having fun. They see some of their friends from elementary. And then, you get with your new classmates, and it's fun at first.
Right.
And then you start switching different classes. And this particular group of kids in my class, they didn't necessarily think I was as cool as I thought I was. Okay.
Oh, well, shame on you guys.
Shame on you. You know who you
look
are.
at her now. She's empowered, and y'all need to get empowered.
But they sort of didn't have the same experience of me that I had. Right. I thought I was cool. I thought I was a little eclectic. I liked all kinds of music. Everything from Nirvana to Madonna.
Yeah, that rhyme.
Exactly. But I liked a variety, classical music, opera. I got teased for liking New Kids on the Block.
Nice.
In my school, they didn't hate it. They hated it. They didn't like it. I had a New Kids on the Block button, oversized button, that also dubbed as like a photo. And I sat it on my desk, and a boy came by and knocked it off my desk. And from that point, I just realized that, okay, this is not going to be the best school year. And from then on, I started getting called names, weirdo. Yeah, I was called weirdo. I was called all kind of names. So they said, oh, you speak proper English. You're so proper. Why are you so proper? And I got teased about it. And I know many young people, especially African American or Latino young people, may get teased for this. And often will get called white girl or Oreo, you know, wannabe, these sorts of things. And this happens often in our communities, right? And I got called all those names. And for the longest, it was really hurtful. because I was shunned and excluded for being one of the smart kids. So there were some smart kids in my class. And as people know, when you're the smart one, and then if you wear glasses on top of it, Four Eyes, imagine the names. 4 Eyes, nerd, all of these things. Now nerd is cool, right? Being a geek is actually chic. Right?
Yeah.
It's cool now, but then it wasn't as cool.
See, isn't that crazy how these kids in school make fun of people like yourself, but yet today as an adult, that translates from being weird and different to cool and cultured.
Exactly.
Come on, people.
Exactly. You know, things change and they shift. You know, they evolve, and that's why I say my story is one from exclusion to empowerment, because I entrusted all of the things that were going on with me to a caring adult in my life, and that was a teacher. One of my teachers had us writing in our journals, and she wanted us to express ourselves. She wanted to know what we were doing over the weekend. She wanted to know about our friends, what's going on in your life. Share with me.
That's a great teacher. What a cool, I don't know if it's an experiment maybe, but what a cool thing to do.
Well, see, she was an English teacher, and part of it was she wanted to make sure that our subject and verb had agreement. Right. That they were in sync. We had subject-verb agreement, make sure that we knew which punctuation to use, right? But part of it, I think, it was her wanting to be connected with her students, and I talked to her about the bullying. I wrote about it, and she eventually asked me to come back to the classroom, and we had a discussion about it. And she said some powerful things to me and encouraged me and let me know that people throughout history have been teased, bullied, and ostracized. Powerful people that we all look up to at some point in their lives.
Now, have you stayed in contact with this teacher over the years, or is she still with us?
I don't know if she's still with us or not. Some people may have mentioned that they were looking for her as well, because as you know, social media, you can keep up with old classmates, and there's a Facebook group dedicated to my middle school specifically, where where people keep in touch.
Lovely Rasheda, come on, hunt her down. It'd be interesting if you had that old journal still, or
I think I do.
Really?
I keep a lot of memorabilia.
Could be a new book in the making. Right there.
Exactly, another one, right? But her name was Mrs. Patty. She was a little different. She was eclectic herself.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a Caucasian lady that had a fro and wore Afrocentric clothing.
Really?
Yeah, she
Patty had it going on, you guys.
Yes,
how does a white person or Caucasian have an afro or a fro?
Maybe she was Jewish. I don't know.
She had something going on there, though, right?
Yeah.
Right? God bless you, Miss Patty.
Right, Bob Ross.
Bob Ross. I don't know what is with that name lately. I've been hearing everyone reference Bob Ross lately.
Yep.
Like everything.
Everything.
Everything that's a good visualization. Oh, you got to Bob Ross that thing.
You know what? Yeah, exactly. Well, they did have that documentary a few years ago.
Was it just recently?
A few years ago, yeah.
Oh, it was a few years ago? Okay, I didn't see it.
2 years ago, I think. It was good. But yeah, back to Miss Patty.
Yes.
She was really cool, and she was very concerned about her students, and she knew that we were going through challenges in and out of the classroom, and that's what I really admired about her, because it wasn't just about our academics. It was also about what was happening in the classroom, what was happening at home, in our communities, in the area that we were growing up in.
Right.
She knew about all the challenges that we were facing, societal pressures, different, just even neighborhood violence that was happening.
Right.
I grew up in Detroit on the east side, and there was a lot of gang violence at the time, and students were being jumped after school. So she was concerned. She had legitimate concerns about our safety and well-being, and I appreciated that about her, and it's because of her that I'm such an advocate for mentors and for intergenerational empathy and understanding. So shout out to you. I don't know if you're still with us, Mrs. Patty, but I love you.
What an impact. I mean, see that right there, to all you teachers, you never know the one student you're going to impact, and change their life forever. And who knows how many other students that Miss Patty, inspired.
Yeah, exactly.
What a cool journey that was, and what a neat, cool teacher.
Yes.
And then here you are today. So okay, so you get out of school, you've been bullied, you've been called names, weird, different. I mean, at some point, when did this connect into your adulthood, or did it happen prior?
So what's interesting about that situation, it only happened during middle school. And in fact, specifically 7th grade. By the time I got to 8th grade, it was gone. And I think it's because I stood up for myself.
Good for you.
Exactly. I became empowered. At that point, I became Empowered Flower Girl for a second time.
Wow. And you didn't even have this brand around it yet. It was just there, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting because just about everyone goes through this in their lives.
Right.
It may not be the same type of bullying. It may not be the same challenge. It may not be bullying at all. Just some sort of hardship that we've all faced.
Right.
Some people, it could be their academics, that they've had experiences where they were failing. Some people may have grown up in poverty and they were able to overcome that. For me, it was just the whole exclusion. And, you know, I just wanted to be a friend.
Right.
Which is interesting because the same group of kids that teased, bullied, and ostracized me, in middle school, when we were graduating 8th grade, we had our yearbook, and they voted me friendliest girl,
Really?
most likely to succeed, most involved, and
Wow,
it was
that's
quite
crazy how that works.
It was quite fascinating because, you know, the previous year, they, you know, were putting me down.
Tormented you.
Yeah, tormented me. Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It wasn't a fun experience, but then again, I stood up for myself in front of a teacher. Just one day in the classroom, I had it. I had it up to here, even beyond, up to the ceiling, and I just snapped. And I said, "Look, I come here every day. I try to be nice. I try to make friends with you all, and then this is the way you treat me." And my teacher was so shocked that I said this, because normally I'm pretty cordial. I'm pretty, you know, not necessarily quiet, but more reserved. And I got up and I said, "You know what? I wish you all would just leave me the hell alone."
Whoa, nice.
Feisty.
Maybe it was a big test and you stood up and they were like, whoa.
Yeah, and then I said, "You know, it's not fair the way you treat me." And of course I get teased for saying, "It's just not fair."
Oh, of course.
But then I think I kind of got some cred. You know, I got some respect.
Sounds like it.
I got respect after that. They weren't messing with me too much after that.
No.
And so as I transitioned from 7th to 8th grade, life changed. And my whole high school experience, I didn't experience any of that. You know, I went to a different high school.
Okay.
I went to Cass Technical High School in Detroit, and the whole school was full of nerds.
Big school.
Listen, the whole school was full of nerds and weirdos just like me. So I didn't have these
Fit
issues.
right in.
I fit right in. So that was great. That was a great experience.
Oh, that's awesome. So so as a kid, you got, you know, ostracized, you know, things like that. Sounds like then you know, obviously high school was much better. I mean, so as that carried into, would you say then that a lot of that does carry into your adulthood? And then if so, I mean, what were those pivotal moments that helped you kind of define the empowered movement?
And that's a great question, because I'm often asked that. In fact, I did an interview some years ago.
Darn it, I thought I was coming up with something clever.
No. But it's a great question. But I was asked this question by Cosmopolitan magazine.
Really?
I was featured in Cosmopolitan magazine.
They emailed me to ask you that.
Exactly. Some years ago. But they were interviewing women who had been bullied as children, right? And how that impacted them in adulthood. And for a lot of us, we were able to overcome it and have resilience. There were a few women who suffered from depression and anxiety, and you know, there's been times where I've had those experiences as well.
Okay.
But the one thing I'll say in life, it has made me defensive over the years. You know, when I feel like I'm being picked on, or if I feel like I'm being put in a corner. But at the same time, it also gave me inspiration to help other young people, especially 21st century teens and tweens, because luckily for me and for you, when you got handcuffed, no one had their cell phone recording it and sharing it on social media.
Oh, not back when I was in school. They probably just, it was mental snapshots back then.
Mental snapshots. But luckily for us,
thank God.
right? Luckily for us, there was no social media around.
Right.
So the challenges that we were facing, all of our most embarrassing moments, maybe we were ridiculed by the kids in our own school or maybe our neighborhood, but not around the globe, right?
Right.
So it may have just been kids in Novi that knew about it, but not Nova Scotia.
Right. Just localized, but still, that's epic.
Yeah.
I mean, look at, Anthony Grappito and I were talking not too long ago when he was a guest on the show, and he's a big advocate for mental health and wellness and suicide prevention. And there's a lot of kids with a story like yours across this country that end up getting so bullied that suicide is the only way out. And so, I love hearing these stories and how you turned something that was such a negative and really a mental health kind of issue.
Absolutely.
And turned it into such a powerful outcome. I mean, God bless you, girl.
Yeah, thank you.
That's powerful in itself. And
yeah, but I didn't do it alone, and that's the thing that I try to stress. That yes, I was empowered, right? We all are powerful.
Right.
We just sometimes need someone to bring that out.
Right.
That we realize our power, and for me, it was trusted adults in my life, like Mrs. Patty,
right,
and others who were there for me, and that's kind of what inspired me to launch Empowered Flower Girl. Just the experiences that I had growing up, being bullied and teased, right? But then also being a mentor. In college, I started mentoring young people. It was a group of 3 girls.
Really?
They were all 5 to 6 years old. I don't know what I was thinking, taking on a group of 3 girls from 5 to 6 years old. It was through a program called Alternatives for Girls, a nonprofit in the Metro Detroit area. And I absolutely loved the experience. But the girls, as they aged, my one mentee in particular, I kept in touch with her for well over a decade. But as she was entering high school, she was having some challenges, right? She was short, and she was petite, and she seemed to have to prove herself all the time. So she was getting into a little bit of trouble in school. Then she had some things going on at home. And some of these things I didn't realize that were going on, but I knew about some of the trouble she was having adjusting in school. And I wanted to do something to help her and girls like her. And I also had 3 nieces who were teens at the time. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to do something to help them. So I came up with this idea in my mind that I was going to write a book. I was going to write a book to help inspire the young people who are going through these, challenges, societal pressure, cyberbullying, all the things that they're facing, right? And that book didn't happen until maybe 10 years later, because what happened was I actually started Empowered Flower Girl before I even published the book.
Okay.
I had no intentions of becoming a social entrepreneur or starting this company, but I was led to do it. Right. I was divinely inspired, and I had to do something to help the young people in my life. Yeah. And I started Empowered Flower Girl in 2010, and the rest is history. I'm a staunch youth advocate, a mentor. I absolutely enjoy working with youth.
You do workshops, you do speaking engagements.
Yes.
Were you a TEDxer too?
Yes.
You're an official TedXer?
Yep,
She's a TEDxer. I didn't get accepted this year.
Look, I tried a few times for one of the larger TEDx stages in the area.
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one, but someone told me, you know what? Try a smaller stage.
Right.
Try a community TEDx. And I got accepted for TEDx at Livonia Civic Center Library.
Oh, I didn't know they went down to the micro levels like that.
Even universities have their own TEDx.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
Exactly. Yep. Organizations out there. I think some faith-based organizations can do a TEDx. There are so many different organizations and institutions that sponsor or put together their own TEDx events.
Interesting.
So,
well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I want everyone to know now. I did order Rasheda's book. I didn't know you had a book until somewhat kind of not just today, but like maybe a week or so ago. But for those of you that don't know, walk us through that mindset and tell everybody a little bit about the book.
Sure. So
please.
Thank you. So the book is called Be Empowered, and in fact,
Be Empowered.
I have
Empowered
a shirt,
Flower
Be
Girl.
Empowered. But yeah, the book is Be Empowered: How to Live Above and Beyond Life's Drama.
Yeah.
And I wrote that based on my experiences, growing up, being bullied.
Yeah.
However, I also included my experience just in life in general. I had faced some challenges with grief and loss, lost some people who were very close to me, the two people who raised me, my aunt and uncle. They were a true force in my life. When I talk about the caring adults who helped me get through those challenges, they were two of the people. My mom also helped, but my aunt and uncle taking me in, that was life-changing, really transformational. And I talked about what the experience was losing them. Because those are some of the things that are happening with our young people, where they are having this mental health crisis. It has been deemed by the CDC that we're in a youth mental health crisis.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I wish this country would take mental health more serious and provide more guidance and resources around it.
Yeah, and you know what? We've come a long way. More people are open to going to therapy and having open discussions about therapy. And there's also training for adults who want to help young people. So there's youth mental health, I believe it's called Youth Mental Health First Aid, and there are organizations out there that offer training for adults to intervene if they see that a young person is going through a mental health crisis or some sort of breakdown, and how you could help and support them and know when maybe it's suicide ideation or if someone is actually considering taking their lives. So there are a lot more resources than when I was growing up that people have, but at the same time, young people still need our support. And that's why I decided that, I wanted to have this book available to, again, the girls that I was mentoring and my nieces, but also other young people in our communities and across the country. And I will say it's quite fascinating because I published the book, I can't believe it. It's almost 10 years ago. Not quite. I published the book 8 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
I published that book 8 years ago, and you know what? It's still just as relevant.
Congratulations, though. How exciting. Now, do you use that book in any of your workshops, and so people can part of the tools and resources that you offer in those workshops? Is that something that you leverage?
Yes, absolutely. And many organizations, nonprofit organizations or schools, will buy the books for youth that are participating in their in-school or after-school programs. And that's a lot of the work that we like to do. We like to partner with nonprofit organizations, community organizations, or schools to help young people, facilitate workshops. And some people may think that, well, with the name Empowered Flower Girl, maybe it's just for girls. Maybe you only work with girls or offer programs for girls.
I was going to ask you that,
Well, actually, Empowered Flower Girl is me, right? I am the Empowered Flower Girl, but I facilitate, because some people have asked me, do you sell flowers? And I get it. I can see why one may think that we sell flowers, but no, we don't sell flowers. I absolutely love flowers, but we don't sell them. But I encourage you to give them to your friends and people you love and care about.
Yes.
But Empowered Flower Girl is more so about me and my experience, but I also made it a brand that other people can embrace. But we offer workshops.
I like it.
Thank you. But we offer workshops and programs for individuals, regardless of gender.
Okay, very nice. So there you guys have it right there. Sign up for her workshops, get her book. Come on, let's show some love here. 8 years in the making. Any new ideas for books coming out?
I've been thinking about it. Not sure, but I know it's going to be something around service, community service, and helping young people to take the leap and to start their own nonprofit or community organizations or initiatives. Because one of the things that we like to do at the Empowered Flower Girl is to recognize and showcase young people who are making a difference in the world, our young change makers, those who are artists and activists, as well as athletes who are giving back and making a difference. So we have a program called She's Empowered, where we recognize female identifying youth or gender expansive youth who are out there in their communities. And I'm so impressed because I've met 6-year-olds who have multiple books published.
Right.
I've met 13.
Isn't that amazing?
It is
These
so
kids
amazing.
nowadays.
It is so amazing. I've met 13-year-olds who have their own television shows and podcasts.
I love that though.
I love it too. And I'm just so impressed and inspired by what they're doing. And
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and that's why I encourage the intergenerational empathy and understanding, because we can all learn from each other. I learn from young people, they learn from me. We pour into one another.
Yeah. See, I mean, through all of that, I mean, you've won, I've known, a few awards and accolades because of this positive and passionate journey that you're on. I mean, and then when I hear, about these other youths that are doing great things, inspiring things, I mean, how do we replicate that out there, And I mean, you're part of that movement. Right? So I guess I answered my own question, but you're part of that movement to get the youth to feel empowered, to feel like, hey, if I start thinking this way and not being dragged down this path of I don't uncertainty and bullied and whatever else that comes with it, I can do this. And I admire that,
You know what? The answer is in that sign.
Yeah.
Right? That I'm powerful.
Hold on, everybody.
I am powerful.
3D effect, whatever.
This guy is hilarious. The boomerang.
That's right. I don't even have to put a hashtag in here. I just hold the sign up.
There you go. But the key is to help.
I'm going to keep that up.
Help young people and people of all ages to realize their power.
There
you go.
We can see it, I think.
Yeah.
If it falls, I don't know. Hope not. There we go.
Yeah, we want to help young people, and again, people of all ages, to recognize their own power. Right. Yeah, we can empower them, but they have to know that they are powerful. And I think once they realize how powerful they are and the difference they can make, then, the movement just happens. Right. Again, like I said, I know a 6-year-old who has published several books to help young people learn to read. And to help youth.
So cool.
Yeah, and to help youth learn their colors and learn to count in different ways. So they are coming up with solutions. I try to encourage young people, like, don't worry about how young or old you are. Yeah. Oh, I'm not old enough. Says who?
Yeah, says who?
Young people have been creating change and making a difference throughout history. And I really love that they're not listening to adults who say children should be seen and not heard.
I hate that. Oh my God, that's so bad.
Yeah,
Who came up with that?
I don't know.
That committee of they are idiots. I'm going to say that right now.
Committee of idiots.
I mean, first of all, they are. I mean, who are, when you hear they said, who the hell are they? Who cares about them?
This is what I'm trying to figure out.
Right.
However, I have heard people say
they
this.
be full of shit.
This is true. And I've heard people say this. People that older folks in my own family.
Right.
Children should be seen and not heard.
Uh-huh.
And it's quite fascinating. So when you call me to come do my chores, I can't hear you.
That's right. Yeah, that's
Why
right.
aren't you answering, Rasheda?
That's so good.
Because I should not be heard,
That's
apparently. Right. But no.
Selective hearing. Well enforced.
Exactly. But all jokes aside, young people are powerful, and I think that they are capable of so much more than we even give them credit for.
So when you meet with these younger kids and you're mentoring them and you're inspiring them or trying to get them to understand that they are powerful, that's a process, I would imagine. Like, anybody can sit there and say, I'm going to mentor you and help change your mindset. But it has to be ingrained and it takes time, I would imagine, for them to really feel that in their soul in order to transform. Would you agree? I mean, that can't be an easy task.
It isn't. And you know, that's why a lot of mentoring organizations that are out there, they want adults to commit to at least a year, if not more, in their mentoring relationship. Because one, you have to start building a rapport, building trust with one another. And you really have to take on being an active listener. You know, we want to help fix all of their problems. We don't want them to hurt themselves. You know, we don't want them to fail. But sometimes they have to have these experiences because it builds character and resilience, right?
Yeah.
So that takes time to develop those relationships. And as I mentioned, one of my mentees, we kept in touch for well over a decade. In fact, I still keep in touch with her mom and some of her family members. And, you know, they're snooping on her social media, seeing what she's up to.
You're one of those social stalkers,
and in fact, I am connected to 3 of my former mentees via social media. And it's great because then you start to develop relationships with their families. And then you can all be that village that the child needs. Well, they're all adult women now, and one of my mentees has her own family now. But you know, you become family.
Right.
So it does take some time, but it's well worth it.
So what do you do in your free time? What do you enjoy? What makes life fun for you outside of empowering people?
Yeah, you know, so I really do enjoy empowering people. I enjoy
I can tell.
Volunteering and giving back. But I also I love to travel. I love the beach.
Nice.
I absolutely enjoy being in or near the water.
Yeah.
So I'd like to take time and to be surrounded by nature. And I had a chance to do a lot of that over the summer, which is really awesome. But I also love dance. I'm a former dance instructor, and I continue to dance. I always say that movement makes me feel most alive.
You know, and it's interesting. Well, we have a lot of similarities and a lot of things that we like then. But the movement piece, because I was talking about, I'm trying to remember who. It was Anthony Grappito and I had this conversation about meditation. I told him I like to meditate. And I haven't been doing it as much as I normally, I was. Yeah. But I was trying to figure it out, like, what's the right way to meditate? And he said something that you just triggered there, movement. That's his form of meditation, is through movement.
I love that.
Yeah, and I never thought of it that way. I always thought meditation was like you're sitting there and you're floating above the, and got some magic carpet or something, and I don't know, some candles and stuff going on. Yeah. So, but that was interesting. And in fact, yesterday, talk about the lake, don't tell anybody, everybody. I decided it was such a beautiful day, and summer's like just sailing through, right? We're not going to get many days. Yesterday was gorgeous. Wow. And I live out in Harrison Township on the lake out that way.
In Harrison Township, but we do have a few more days.
We
nice
do.
Weather left.
I mean, I don't live on the lake, but I live on the water near the lake. And I was like, man, there's no wind. It's perfect day. I'm going to go meditate. Movement. I jumped in my boat. I was on the lake for like 4 or 5 hours. It was the glossiest, smoothest day I've ever seen Lake St. Clair. Nice. But that brought me to my place. It was therapy. It empowered me to be better today.
Oh, well, look at there. Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you have that resource there. And we are really, really blessed here in Michigan to have.
It's a beautiful state. It is a beautiful state.
To have all of that.
Yeah.
And I definitely get out there and enjoy myself on the beach.
Good.
Lake Michigan, Lake Huron. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Isn't it crazy how blue that Lake Huron is?
Yeah.
I mean, you go 30, 40 feet and see straight down.
Exactly.
It's like the Caribbean almost.
Exactly. And sometimes when I go over to the west side of the state, you really can't tell if it's a lake or an ocean. I take pictures and people are like, oh, where are you? Are you in Florida somewhere? No.
Yeah, no, Lake Michigan.
Exactly.
So that's beautiful. I mean, these are big lakes, so.
Yeah, they are.
So you do a lot. How many workshops do you do? Or like what do companies hire you for workshops, or they're just mostly organizations, youth groups, churches, all the above?
All of the above. Listen, I partner with
That's awesome.
whomever wants to make a difference for young people.
Right.
And it's been schools, universities, faith-based institutions, other community groups.
Right.
But one of the things that I've been focusing a lot more on is helping adults who are purpose-driven, who want to make a difference for young people. So that could be someone who is interested in starting their own mentoring program, or they may have thought about an initiative that they can implement in the school, and they just need some support. They need some resources to figure out, okay, how do I get started, or even how do I get it from out of here
Right.
and into the world, right? Because sometimes our biggest challenge is here. Just getting it out, right? It's like, I don't know. It has to be perfect before I can actually do it. The young people do not have time to wait for us to have it all figured out.
As adults, we don't have time to figure it all out.
This is true.
mean, just go.
Just go. There's so many young people. If we're saying that there is a youth mental health crisis and that young people are really struggling,
Right.
they don't have time for us to say, oh, well, you know what? I don't know if I'm the person that's, that should be doing this. When that imposter syndrome starts to kick in, no.
Yeah.
I like to be there to help people to overcome that, to live above that,
Right.
so that they can make a powerful difference as well. So if adults want to make an impact, I want to be there to encourage them and to help them along the way with the resources that they need, just to be able to go from here to, out there in the world, as well as tell their stories, right? Once they start these organizations, or maybe they even have an organization already going, but no one knows about it. Well, maybe a few people, right?
Yeah.
It's the best kept secret, but those secrets serve no one, right? There's too many people in our communities that need these types of services and
Right.
support for us to be the best kept secret. So I want everyone who is doing good in the world to be recognized
Right.
for the good that they're doing.
I love it. I love it. So I'm going to ask something here because, we can all sit and talk about the great things that happen in our lives and what the things that we're doing in our journey, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be some hard and sad moments when you're meeting with maybe some of the younger kids that are coming out of a home environment or been really severely bullied. How do you, you don't want to talk about names or any reference points to these individuals, but what are some of what's one of the most memorable, harshest moments that you've experienced mentoring somebody?
Well,
if you're willing and willing to share.
Yeah, so it wasn't necessarily my one-on-one mentoring relationship, but whenever I facilitate our workshop called Chica Chat, so it's our signature workshop, Chica Chat Inspiring Sisterhood. So part of what we do is we give the participants an opportunity to ask any question that they want.
Okay.
Because the goal is not necessarily for the adults in the room, because usually it's me and maybe a couple teachers who are volunteers to come in and help, or maybe it's individuals who operate the organization. So there's just a couple adults in there to support the young people, but they get to ask questions anonymously. So they can write their questions down and put them in a bucket, and we pick questions to be answered.
Okay.
But the goal is to have the other young people, and usually with Chica Chat is particularly girls or female identifying youth, right? They will, put the questions in the bucket or basket,
Right.
and we pull them out, and the goal is for them to support one another, for the girls to offer each other advice as opposed to adults just telling them what we think.
That's a
should
great
happen.
idea.
Yeah,
I like that.
And I'm surprised at some of the questions that the girls have, and it's more so just, I guess I wouldn't say necessarily surprised by the questions, but more so that some of them are facing those challenges so young, and some of them feel like they don't have the support. Now, one of the young ladies, it was very memorable because she was experiencing something that I experienced similarly. She said that she's really struggling because her brother, who had been incarcerated, was just returning home, and she felt like her family dynamic completely changed. because he was gone for several years. And now that he was back, they had to be adjusted to that.
Right.
And she was having a hard time with him being back, and all the attention was being given to him and helping him, and she was struggling. And, the other girls were offering advice to her, and, I know how that is, having an older sibling who has experienced incarceration.
Okay.
That happened with my brother, and he came back after 2.5 years or 3 years, and just getting adjusted, to having him back.
Right.
So I definitely kind of can relate to the experience, but I was just really proud of the support this young lady received.
That's
Because
awesome.
others were talking about their experiences with their siblings,
Right.
maybe not the exact same situation, but how they handled similar circumstances.
Right.
And she felt supported. And I think the more that young people know one another and the challenges that they're facing, the more likely they will be to support one another rather than
Right.
bully or shun or exclude. Right?
Yeah.
Because we tend to other or exclude people because we don't really know them, right? But if we really knew what was going on with each other, we probably would have a little more empathy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we can only read minds, right? Oh God, thank God we can't. But I mean, I always tell people too, that's why it's like, if you walk into a store, it's the person checking out, or you're at a restaurant, I always ask them, how's the day treating you so far?
Yeah.
Or just smile. Make them feel like you care, because you should care. You never know what someone's going through. Don't just ignore them. And so it's interesting. There was the store that I live by. I go in there from time to time, not all the time, but and there's this gentleman. He's always looking down. He works there, and he's so quiet. And I've noticed him when I'm standing in line. He has zero interaction with everybody, anyone. So one day I decided to say hi to him and just go, hey, how's your day treating you? And he looks up and goes, okay, and he wouldn't say much. A little time passes, I go back. I said the same thing, and I noticed the same behavior. So this time I'm trying to pry out of him. I'm like, do you have family in the area? You guys live in the family? Yeah, I have, kids. And I think he said he has 4 kids. So now every time I go in there, he knows I'm going to say something to him. So I'm pulling conversation. Now instead of saying, how you doing, I say, how's the family? How you guys been?
Yeah.
And now this guy asking me about my kids. So take the time to get to know people.
Absolutely.
Be nice, be kind, be friendly, say hi. Because you know what? Maybe that person's really stressed out, mentally maxed out.
Yeah.
Right?
Or maybe that person is always ignored.
Yeah, or always ignored. Yeah.
Yeah, you transformed.
Yeah. So now we just like talking about all kinds of stuff. Tell me his kids in soccer and all this stuff. I mean, all it took was that. Yeah. And I'm sure with what you do with empowering these youths and the adults that you mentor, it's asking questions, getting them outside their comfort zone and feeling that they are cared for.
At the end of the day, young people need to feel safe, loved, and celebrated.
Right.
There's a gentleman, he passed away some years ago, but he's someone I really looked up to. And his whole goal, his whole mission was to help young people in our communities feel safe, loved, and celebrated. And I think that the more we have that intergenerational empathy and understanding, the more that is possible.
Yeah.
Right, and that can really transform our world.
I love that. I tell you one thing that I was excited for you to be on the show for is the fact that you mentor young kids and into adulthood, and I really think the loss, like you've said about people that come in here and you yourself had loss, and people that you have mentored have experienced loss. And that's a hard thing to deal with, especially as a kid, even as an adult. But as a kid, that's going to carry, in most cases, it carries into your adulthood. And there's a lot of unresolved emotions, right, that tag along that most of us don't realize. Not guilty, but I'm living proof of that, because my mom, I never had a mom growing up, right? Yeah. So I don't even have, I have zero reference points of what it's like to have in a household with a mom in it. No idea. Yeah. And then finally in 2009, she took her own life at my age, 54. So I've been learning to deal with those emotions for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, and it does. And I used to think, honestly never thought much about it. And so then when I started doing this show and I started hearing the different stories from awesome people like you and how you've grown up and then how you took all that and turned it into what you do. I mean, I am grateful, humbled, and honored to have you here. I am excited that you're rocking it out there and you're transforming lives. And just like that teacher did for you, you're doing that for a lot of people. Some might come up and congratulate you and thank you, and there might be of unspoken words that you won't even hear about for 5 years, 10 years from now, right? I mean, you're building a legacy, girl.
Thank you. And you know what? That's what I tell parents as well. Yes, your kids aren't listening to you now.
Yeah.
But once they get to college or maybe start their own families,
yeah,
they will tell you, oh, you know what? I was listening. I didn't want to admit it, but
of course,
thank you.
Stubborn.
Thank you. I always try to tell parents, hey, you're going through it right now, because I have a teenage goddaughter.
Okay.
And I hear from her mom all the time, oh, she doesn't appreciate me, or all of these things, the challenges that they're facing, right? But she's going to get that thank you someday.
Absolutely.
So just don't be attached to when you get the thank you.
Exactly. So you guys, episode 19, if you are somebody you know is struggling, whether you're in the youth space, you're an adult, and you're looking for resources and guidance, please reach out, and Rasheda will reach out to you guys, right? I want you to reach out, comment. If you're experiencing something and you feel publicly safe and comfortable sharing your story, do that. If not, message Rasheda personally. Let's get a conversation going. Leverage her expertise and guidance. I encourage you guys to go out and get her book. I promise you guys this, once it arrives, I will do an unveiling. I will read it and throw out some of my awesome thoughts around it. But thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you for being a part of Imagine Better. And without guests and now new friends like you, I mean, my show wouldn't be possible. And this is my way of trying to get back to my community around me. And I'm just getting started. And trust me, I've been scared shitless episode after episode. This is a big endeavor for me. And I've been going through my own journey. So and those of you who've been watching my episodes know that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And yes, I encourage you.
I'm empowered now,
live
everyone.
Powerfully. Be empowered. That's our motto. Be empowered, live powerfully.
But we gotta, if I get a hashtag like this, we gotta take off the full and just put an S there. I am powers. So with that being said,
hey.
Episode 19.
Yay.
Welcome and thank you. You guys have a great day. Love you guys.